Good morning, Geeks and Gamers. Welcome in to another episode of Geeks and Gamers Daily. We actually do have a respectable show today, unlike yesterday, which was a shit show, and we all loved it, but that's okay. But yeah, there's a lot to talk about. We got breaking news that just dropped, and we have Ryan Kennel from RK Outpost in the house. What's up, man?
Not much. Ready to rock and roll. We had a long, kind of insane stream yesterday, but we're back focused on some of the same topics when it comes to Sony, Helldivers. Obviously, going to talk a lot about Stellar Blade and the petition today, and of course, Microsoft continues to have failure after failure in pretty much every aspect of gaming. So, going to talk about that.
I think we got a good couple of guests to talk about all of that as well. Well, let's talk about the internet's most loved and hated person right now, Grums. Hi, Grums. How are you?
Good morning. I don't know which I am today. It's a flip of the coin. Do they love me today or do they hate me today? I'm going to become Harvey Dent here in a second.
I heard that, man. But welcome back to Geeks and Gamers, man. Pleasure to have you back on, sir.
Thank you.
And for the first time on Geeks and Gamers, we have Aleski, goes by Alex, former Epic Games developer, many other studios involvement. But welcome to Geeks and Gamers, sir.
Hey, thank you for having me. Good to be here.
Absolutely. And I know you just give the audience, that if they don't know you, just a brief rundown, who you are, what your background is, real quick.
Sure. Yeah, I've been to games development industry for about 25 years. Worked with Epic for 7 years. I used to work for a GC Game World. You might know for Stalker and Cossacks and stuff, and a bunch of other smaller involvements and other studios have been consulting. I, after 25 years, I left a couple of months ago to retirement, and I'm just doing my own creative projects and do stuff online. Like everyone else, started Twitter. Started to have fun. The YouTube and things, just writing books and having fun.
And the most surprising element of this is that he worked in games development for 25 years and he doesn't hate us. That's the most shocking part of it. So I'm always happy when someone in the games industry doesn't hate us, but there's actually a lot more that don't hate us, surprisingly. But yeah, so there's a lot going on. Ryan, I know you brought this up about this breaking news from Microsoft. I don't know if you want to open up with that or if you want to open up with anything else. Kind of your call, however you want to do it.
We might as well talk about it because I mean it just happened less than an hour ago. We haven't exactly seen the best news coming out of pretty much anything Microsoft when it comes to gaming over the last couple of years. Not sure how some of the people that are there still have jobs at this point, but we just got the news. Looks like it got updated at 10:49 a.m., so just 15 minutes ago. Microsoft closes Redfall developer Arcane Austin, Hi-Fi Rush developer Tango Gameworks, and more in devastating cuts at Bethesda. So there's a couple things that some of them are getting absorbed into other studios, some are just getting shut down completely. Alpha Dog Studios will also close. Roundhouse Games will be absorbed by Elder Scrolls Online developers ZeniMax Online Studios. And Microsoft didn't say how many staff will lose jobs, but significant layoffs are inevitable. And when you look at everything that's happened with Microsoft, when you look at kind of the failure of this generation of Xbox, it's pretty much guaranteed. Like, we can already say that at this point. This generation of Xbox has failed completely. And now they're doing even more layoffs and closing even more studios. Does not bode well for Microsoft.
No, not at all. Not at all. And instead of me trying to yap through this and pretend I know what I'm talking about, I'll throw it over to Grums and Alex, you guys, what do you guys think about this? I don't know if you guys were aware of this news because it just broke. But what's your initial reaction to all of this?
Well, I'm just reading here on the screen with you right now. That's a lot of studios. What games are we talking about? So Arcane. Wow.
So Arcane Austin, Alpha Dog Studios, Tango Gameworks, and then Roundhouse Games is basically getting shuttered too. They're going to get some people are going to get absorbed into ZeniMax Online, but you got three studios that are closing completely, and one of them is getting absorbed into somewhere else.
And then where's Bethesda?
So like, look here, a studio will close with some members of the team joining other studios to work on projects across Bethesda.
Okay.
For Arcane. Roundhouse Games, obviously ZeniMax Online Studios is also under Bethesda's umbrella as well.
These are Bethesda-related studios.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
Bethesda also closed their French office, I believe, a week or a couple of weeks ago. I mean, like, and I think it's been a part of this whole larger restructuring, like in general.
Yeah, I think so. How many jobs? Because we are up to, as of from Q4 last year to Q1 this year, we are well over, I think, 30,000 game jobs cut
Yep.
in AAA. So this is adding how many more?
They have not announced it yet. They've not announced how many actual layoffs there are. This is just like the initial announcement, and who knows how many people might be going other places. But most of those people are probably going to lose their jobs. We don't have an idea of the number yet, though.
Well, none of this is unexpected, right? I don't even think game consumers are surprised at this point either, because AAA has been hemorrhaging personnel since free, easy, low interest rate money, as well as ESG and DEI funding has dried up. And I know that studio heads are telling me that they're scrambling for cash. Some studio heads are even putting money themselves into their own studios to keep them going. And cash is king right now. So if they got nothing in the pipeline that's generating revenue, companies are going to be looking to trim the fat. This is also related to the closing of BlizzCon, by the way. BlizzCon was always a money loser for Blizzard. Extremely expensive show to put on. It was a loss leader, kind of bring the fans in and keep the hype up. And they're not even saying when that show's coming back, which is really concerning.
Yeah, and it just kind of like the whole entire. We've been dealing with this for years now. It seems like, especially like in a post-COVID world, it just seems like these announcements are coming more often than anybody wants to hear. And these studios just like the budgets are out of control. It's just like in the movie business, the budgets are out of control for a lot of these games. Then you have games like Helldivers and Palworld come out that blow the doors off of everything, that have a much smaller budget. It's a weird dynamic that we have right now in the games industry. Holy crap.
I would say it's even like more not expected, you know, like because like after the Microsoft purchased Activision, in general, you know, like when events like that happen, companies typically go through reorganization, and that's a prime result of it. There's been rumors like at the end of the last year that Microsoft will be cutting a lot of people. There's been an initial layoff, if you remember.
Yeah.
They fired a bunch of people, like primarily, and that's like the second round basically. And another element to it, I mean, like just to adopt what Graham says, is it's a lot of the studio has been mismanaged, really. You know, like we I think a lot of people know that. For example, Arcane had through a very hellish type of the development with the Redfall, right? You know, like that game. There's been a bunch of articles basically where it's been written that studio never been known for being able to develop a great live ops experiences or those type of the experiences, a purely single player type of the game studio. And there's been like very convoluted and very frustrating inputs from the management about changing the direction and vision of the game like 6 or 7 times, basically running it down to the ground from producers, you know, like, and in Bethesda. And I think what happened is that a lot of people in senior management had a lot of good ideas. They tried it with a developer who was not qualified for the specific type of the development. And developer had to pay the price for those experiments at the end of the day, unfortunately.
Well, game teams are too big. I mean, it's really hard to maintain a cohesive vision when you have the way it's done in AAA is even at Blizzard, which was for a long time everything done in-house, everything all the time. It's now done with satellite studios, right? And you sometimes have 6 or 7 other contracting studios or sub studios all trying to develop the same game. You're talking, 500-600 people for AAA. And to try to maintain a cohesive vision on this, I think they're running into, a well-known software problem called the Mythical Man Month, which is mostly for technical programming, but I think it applies to a creative endeavor too, where the more people you add, the less efficiency you get.
Yeah.
So you know what I'm talking about. These large teams, 600, 700, a team of 200 can outperform them. And this was always true in the industry. I mean, when we ran BattleNet for the first time, right, Blizzard's online matchmaking service, it blew up and it was huge. And we did it with 3 people to serve millions of customers.
Yeah.
And as we grew the teams, BattleNet became a huge team. We didn't get any more efficiency out of it. It was diminishing return the whole way. And this is a hard lesson that AAA has to learn, is that they can't make games faster or, just by throwing people at it. And I think they're waking up to that now.
And how many fake jobs are out there because of the DEI and all of that? And they're just. And I'm sorry to interrupt you, Alex. I didn't mean to, but I have to imagine, like, in the industry, because it's not like it's isolated to gaming. It's everywhere. But they're creating all these fake jobs because of their DEI bullshit and their diversity initiatives, and it just balloons the budgets even more and creates a lot of these problems where good people, talented people, the people that are actually qualified, end up losing their jobs because of that. That's got to be a massive problem.
Identity first, yeah.
Yeah,
There's a huge layer of fat in these companies of middle management, and especially and woke and DEI departments as well. Some companies are affected more than others. Activision and Ubisoft are the most infected with DEI in terms of integration with development, and in these studios. Depending on Activision's huge. There's many studios, but depending on the studio you talk to, they have to run stuff through the DEI department before it gets into the game. So that's a huge bottleneck. Okay. And then what you have going on in Ubisoft is literally death by 1,000 cuts of DEI emails and DEI seminars that are required that you have to attend, and this is really disheartening to many developers.
It's kind of everywhere. I mean, but it's also, DEI is a huge issue. I mean, but it's also, it's not like it's a singular issue. It adds up with a bunch of others which are pre-existing to an industry.
Exactly.
And like a lot of fake jobs are just fake jobs. It's just. Think about it this way, someone goes to the conference, comes up with a good idea in executive corps, right? And then they decide to promote this idea to have another senior vice president who need to have a couple of just vice presidents, and each of these vice presidents needs to have a couple of assistants, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it just starts growing exponentially. And all of these people, they at some points feel like they want to involve in the gaming process, which they don't understand. Game development is the same qualification as any professional activity. Like, people learn to develop games in this specific specialty for years, like 10, 15, 20 years, right? And then there is someone who never developed a game before. They just come up with these ideas that they want to involve. Now, another element is what Graham says, right? That death by the 1,000 cuts, and from the DEI specifically, because you need to approve that with those people before making the decision to implement this feature. You also have a good old legal as well, and you need to check with legal occasionally, and depending from the company, as a developer,
especially for licensed games, right?
You
got to run everything not just through your legal department, but Star Wars legal department.
And what happens is that as a developer, you get into this almost an impossible situation where you're blocked in almost everything that you do, and before making any move, you need to ask a permission from 5 and 6, not even people, but committees. And committees are well known for just squashing the responsibility, among all of the people who are participants. And this is a very long time before those people will take any decision. And you're just in a hell of the bureaucracy, which, like any bureaucracy, is interested only in one thing: to preserve the life of the bureaucracy, nothing else. Bureaucracy is never interested in the result.
And I think, too, what we're seeing, especially with these big, massive, bloated AAA, studios and developers, you're seeing that the barrier to entry to make a game for just like an indie creator, somebody has an idea, wants to go out there, it's getting lower and lower, the barrier for entry, as well as throw on top of that what we found out with COVID, which was, hey, by going to remote work and by people not going in, it's like, okay, we can make this with people all over the country just doing Zoom calls, and we can make a game that people love instead of these studios that, they're renting out all this square footage in San Francisco or wherever it is, and it's just so much overhead. And I think that's just to add on to all the other stuff that's already kind of dragging these studios down.
Yeah, there's a software development process that was really popular in game design for a while that I had some issues with, called Agile. And Alexei, I don't know if you've had experience. Now, Alexei's worked with many studios,
Yeah,
right? So that work with the Unreal Engine. So I'm
yeah,
interested in his insights on this. But what I found the problem with Scrum was Scrum is a software development process where you sort of have like a task list, and it's highly iterative and it's very fast. And you're supposed to have these meetings every morning where you get your small mini teams together. And unfortunately, what happened was these little meetings that are supposed to be very quick and very efficient just to get people working again turned into longer and longer meetings run by these middle managers and producers who had no experience with programming or art or any aspect of development. They came up from community management, they came up from QA. Not to knock QA, we've had some of the best people out of QA.
yeah.
They've got a huge work ethic, right? But in many cases, you had people that had zero development experience in management positions running these sort of like these little mini meetings, which started to get very, very bloated, and you need more and more people to run these feature team meetings. So I'm curious, Alexei, are these types of meetings going on? Is there death by meetings happening in game
Yeah,
development?
well, of course, it's still there, and I think it's worse than any time prior. Well, a quick comment on the agile, because there is an internal joke in between people who's been doing a lot of process organization work, like good people, is that agile is a nice methodology if you use it for the 10 people who are the smartest people in the world. Like most
Yeah,
professional people, they would use it like to an extent, they would be extremely successful with it.
right.
Like if you're trying to use agile for 60 people and the 40 of them are juniors, I mean, like they would just, it would just not work because it's created by smart people for the small groups of smart people, like
Right.
it's period, right? For like at the end of the day, if we're talking about the methodologies, agile came up into an industry as a new solution because previously people been working through the waterfall, like just doing tasks, and a lot of people got tired of that because it's too much of a factory. Like it's not really a creative process incentivizing. But reality in most of the studios at this point, and if we're talking from the point of view of efficiency, is that people are trying to find a unique hybrid in between an agile, waterfall, and what they come up with, just how to develop games and use it in their unique contexts. Meetings are still an issue, and meetings are still an issue because every person who don't really have a specific prominent skill and who's not a merit hire, their political interest to procure authority into the team is to project the confidence. And you can only project the confidence where you can personally influence people, show up at the meetings, talk smart stuff and word saturated things, like that sounds smart, use your charisma maybe, to become the nice guy in an office, a person who everyone loves, and meetings is a tool for it. So logically, those people trying to set up as much people as possible to get them a lot of time to use them as a platform to promote themselves inside of the organizations. Reality for developers is that those meetings are very hurtful because for engineers, for writers, like almost every specialization, you need like a 20-30 minutes to concentrate onto the task for the peak performance. And if somebody distracts you, you need to go and do it again.
It
Like,
reminds
Yeah,
me of like that there was that video of that Twitter employee before Elon bought it, where they were basically taking a picture of how their day goes and how they just wasted so much time bragging
Yeah.
about the job they had and pretending that they were important, but in reality they were accomplishing absolutely nothing. And that's kind of what
you
it
know,
sounds like. A lot of these people are like over glamorized and they pretend that they're more important than they are.
yeah,
So this came from venture capital and tech company booms, right? We started to get really fat,
yeah,
literally and figuratively. We started giving out, and I did this too. We started having a lot of free benefits at work. Some tech companies would bring chefs in, and you had the massage days and all this stuff. And I think that and this was encouraged by the venture capitalists too. You go out and raise money,
yeah.
and they want you to ask for more, so they get more and more control of your company. This created an atmosphere that was really fun in many ways, but I think we went too far, and it,
Hmm.
and it started to get all about the amenities that a studio offered, and you started to get people that really were attracted to less work, more fun at work. And I think, when you have the harsh reality where the funding isn't there, a lot of that fat is being cut too, and the focus is now on doing the work. But I had another question for Alexi, and this is my open thought pondering. Because of your work with so many studios, one thing that people say is, "Oh, these job cuts in the industry are going to release a flood of indie developers," and I have my doubts because
Yeah.
the funding isn't there anymore, and these big publishers aren't going to turn around and take the money they saved and start dumping it into studios that are not their own. And ESG grants, are dried up, even at the governmental level, the country and state level. So I don't see where these people are going to go. Unfortunately, the people who are laid off, I think, are going to mostly transition into the industry. So I was just wondering, what's your perspective on
Mhm.
that, Alexi?
I think there are two very big factors for why the whole crisis is happening in general. Like the first of those factors is that money have disappointed in game development industry whatsoever, like in general, because video game industry started to make a lot of shitty promises they cannot really deliver.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Like, and it became super apparent. Like after the COVID, like it's almost people who own uh, positions and authority in the industry been going for all of those places telling other people that game industry is invincible because everyone played games at COVID, it will stay forever. And people kind of bought it initially for a couple of years, and then it started to crumble. Then there is like this other factor, which is macroeconomical situation changed, and people are not feeling as good as a couple of years ago. I mean, like everything got more expensive. I mean, like people just had simply more disposable income to spend on games previously, and now people are choosing to buy stuff which is good, right? And let's be honest, as well, a lot of games just one shot because gaming industry just felt that they can produce anything. And we all know this marketing person from the game development at the show after a couple of drinks who would say something like, "I'll tell gamers whatever shit you would give me if you would give me enough marketing money. Like, don't even think about what this game will be." Like it was this level of arrogance.
Yeah.
Like, and like
And it
seriously.
does, like, the amount of problems that you guys are bringing up is in the gaming world from my perspective, and it sounds like the same exact problems in the movie world right now, where everything is so bloated, out of control, budgets, fake jobs, people that are talented can't get their job done because they're bogged down by all this other bullshit. And it's not a coincidence that it's the same thing, because the same problems are affecting every industry. I think
Yeah, all
that
the
was
industry. I
yeah.
know why as well. Because other people who game industry borrowed a lot is people from the Hollywood, because a lot of stuff's happening in California.
Mhm.
And there's been a lot of practices who's been
Yeah.
directly borrowed from the Los Angeles Hollywood agency corpus, like Hollywood legals, like a bunch of other people and just straight people from the Hollywood. And I would say that those borrowings of practices from the Hollywood and the tech, as Graham's been telling, like it played a very bad joke on the gaming industry in general. I mean, like I think that a lot of people who are currently living video games, they got so much used to this very fat environment that they would not be able to attract many. Like because like I'm mentioning Hollywood because I want to bring in like this whole thing we discussed it recently with someone. People are like, why are video games cost $200 million? Like AAA. Like how much of this money is Hollywood accounting and an overhead? A lot. Like
Yeah.
a lot.
You,
Yep.
you
And
know,
people, yeah,
we need to go back to the old days. When I arrived at Blizzard, we were so frugal, even though we
yeah.
were successful. The joke was your first day at work, you had to build your own desk from IKEA. So you literally had to like
We used to we
assemble.
used to build our own furniture and our own computers.
Yeah.
Offices, you know?
And
Yeah.
we didn't get flat screens forever. Flat screens
Yeah.
have been out for years, but we had forced to use these 25-pound monitors, these gigantic things.
That's why I keep saying, like, I don't want a lot of my favorite things to get popular. The more popular something gets, the worse something
I think
else.
that's
And,
true.
you know,
Money ruins
yeah.
things.
Like G.I. Joe, I'm a huge G.I. Joe fan, and obviously G.I. Joe's a massive, you know, brand and everything, but it's not like Star Wars, it's not like Marvel, you know, the Marvel Cinematic Universe or things like that. But the G.I. Joe kind of still flies under the radar, even though it's been ruined in a lot of ways. But people are like, you want G.I. Joe to come back to the forefront? Not really. I'd rather it just kind of stay where it's at and let me have my memories of it. I don't want it to get a $200, $300, $400 million budget film, things like that. I don't want that. I'd rather it just kind of
You heard about
be what it
Hasbro,
is.
right? You heard about Hasbro investing $1 billion
Yes.
into
Yes.
internal game development. One of the
Yep.
franchises, G.I. Joe as well.
Yes, They've got a Snake Eyes game that apparently is in development. That's going to be like an Arkham style game, in which obviously the idea of a Snake
Is he going
Eyes
to take his
game-
helmet off like the awesome movie?
the idea of having a Snake Eyes video game in an Arkham style is amazing. The idea, but the reality is they're going to screw it up probably. All right, we got to get to some super chats really quick. So Ryan, and then we've got to talk about Helldivers and Stellar Blade. Stellar Blade petition is blowing up still, and we're going to talk about that. And obviously, the Helldiver situation is at the top of the forefront of the gaming industry right now, and I want to make a video on it, but I want to talk about how the fact that like Call of Duty, you know, they've been sitting there for like 5, 6, 7 years. They can't get their shit together. It took Helldivers fans like 3 days to correct course. Come on, Call of Duty fans, where the hell are you at? All right, go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, let's hit a couple of these $20 super chats. Prometheus Creations for 20. These companies buying out other companies are ruining the industry and economy. You need competition to make a healthy economy. Without it, things go downhill fast. Thank you, Prometheus.
Yep.
Gremlin for $20 was watching Val Ren before he went live. They mentioned when Bob was talking about future movies and shows. So no, it was not mentioned. Weird. You're talking about the Disney earnings call.
Yes.
Where the Disney stock has dropped about 10% in the past hour after their earnings call. So I'm sure we'll get into that probably tomorrow or something like that. Tomac for $20 at this point. Is Ninja Theory the only studio left that Microsoft bought?
No, there are much more. I mean, like there's a whole bunch of them, but not all
They're
of
busy
them.
ruining Blizzard right now.
Yeah, they're like on it actively.
But we do have
All
to talk.
cylinders firing.
I mean, I have a theory, you know, like that a part of the decision for shutting down BlizzCon, you know, like it's because Activision Microsoft is in the process of devouring Blizzard, and they had this meeting and they're like, we need to close the show, not to give them the false sense of the personal identity anymore. You know, like, and
That's an interesting theory, because that is a very valid tactic. When you are, and when I was at Blizzard, we were bought and sold like 3 times. When you are purchased by a giant corporation, the first thing they try to do is completely infiltrate you. And they would try to insert their own HR people, they try to insert their own finance and marketing people, and they try to insert their own, even down to IT. And at Blizzard, we were very good at saying, no, thou shalt not cross this line.
This is the worst. IT is a breach to the security, you know.
Yeah. But Blizzard lost that edge because they went from making the most money within Activision to being second fiddle to Candy Crush and mobile. And once the money shifted to mobile, Blizzard lost all its leverage, and you started to get Activision personnel installed into Blizzard, and that is a huge problem.
Don't you guys have phones? No big deal.
Yeah, I did like the Arrowhead CEO starting off his tweet like that the other day. That was pretty good.
Yeah.
But speaking of that, as much bad news as there has been in gaming, obviously the Helldivers 2 turnaround, I feel like, is a big white pill for a lot of people, that if enough people get angry and make their voices heard and leave reviews or cancel subscriptions, whatever it may be, there can actually be some change. And we saw that very, very quickly with Helldivers. Now, people don't trust Sony to maybe follow through on everything. We're still paying attention to what's going on. And obviously, Grums, you've had a lot of interactions with some people that work at Arrowhead as community managers that has been a little less than pleasant. However, at the end of the day, it does feel like a big win for Helldivers 2 fans. And a lot of people are wondering, can we get that same type of win with something like Stellar Blade with this petition.
Yeah, and what's the petition up to right now, Grums?
I think it's about 81,000 right now, and our goal is 100K, but we're starting to prep. Almost 82 now.
About 82.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we're starting to, and for perspective, the Nostalrius petition for WoW Classic servers started well below that until YouTubers got involved and I got involved, and everyone pushed, and we got that to 200K. And I didn't expect, Stellar Blade to ever reach that level because it's a more niche product. But 81,000 is far more than I expected, especially since it's only been since 26. So we're talking like
2 weeks, basically. Yeah.
A little less than 2 weeks. So this is phenomenal, and I'm very happy with this result. So we're prepping now for signatures, and the Helldiver thing, I think, shows us a lever we can use and that we're not using enough. Helldivers really came about, and to give you another perspective, Helldivers had 200,000 negative reviews on Steam, right?
In like 3 days.
Yeah.
We're sitting at about a little less than half that. So I think that's a tremendously good sign for the petition.
And I didn't think there was a chance in hell Sony was going to respond. I figured they were going to continue their course. Because I've talked about it in many of the videos I made, or I said this just makes me sad because Helldivers was so popular. People were having so much fun with it. I had fun with it. The audience that it had created, the community it created was amazing. And unfortunately, Sony's not going to acknowledge this. And then they did. And that was amazing. I still can't believe that Sony acknowledged this. And so that should show gamers that, like, even if it seems like there's no chance, if enough people get together, mobilize, and make their voices heard, a difference can be made. And the same is going to apply to Stellar Blade. If enough people get together, make their voices heard, and that's happening right now. It's not happening quite to the levels that Helldivers was, but it kind of is, because Helldivers was a game that you could play on. There was obviously a huge PC crowd there. So
the audience and install base is much bigger than Stellar Blade.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's also the different attitude of PC gamers versus console gamers. Like, yes. I think that had a big role to play.
Yeah.
When it comes to the differing responses, and also too, I feel like in general, the controversy over Helldivers 2 is a little bit bigger. Like you're talking about all these different countries that don't even have access to PlayStation Network. You're talking about something that happens 2 months after it's released, after it's already massively popular. Whereas Stellar Blade, even though it is obviously, when you're talking about the principle of the thing, it definitely matters for Stellar Blade. But you're talking about a little less impact on the actual game itself and people being able to play it, but still obviously an important concern than when it comes to Helldivers.
Yeah.
Now, I think that it will be kind of studied in the books because so many things fall into the place very, very quickly. And everything that you guys told, and then a bunch of the things, because I've been approaching, kind of investigating this a little bit and making video about it, about what's been happening in Sony that could have provoked this response. And if we would look at the last 6 months, there's been a whole bunch of things that kind of created this context as well. So starting from the last year, Sony also laid off a whole bunch of people who's been also in a technical department. Now Jim Ryan left. That means a change of the leadership. That means new management, right? Who's not completely into the ropes. I honestly think that a part of the reason for the Stellar Blade is that people who promised not to touch it are now gone, and new people just don't want to deal with that. It means that we need to push even more, and then in February, Sony had to adjust their forecast for their earning report, lowering down on 5%. And in a week, Sony actually having their earning day at the 14th of May. And so all of this going on, I think it just terrified the current management at the end, because problem became fiscal. Steam kind of backstabbed them a bit, for the favor of the gamers, with all the refunds being the thing. And then if there is anything that executives are afraid of, is a bad optics about financials at the reporting days.
That's why it's so important for people who want Stellar Blade to go through to cancel their PSN subscription. That is the main lever, and we saw that. We saw that with Helldivers. People forcing refunds through Steam by asking 6, 7. Some people were asking like 7, 8 times to get their refund until they finally got a human who would do it. That's the type of pressure that's needed. And so, the petition is one thing, but I always said I had an 8-step plan. Another key leg for Stellar Blade fans is you got to cancel those PSN Plus subscriptions.
You got to hit them where they hurt. You got to hit them where it hurts, because they're not going to. They don't care. They don't care about angry tweets. They don't care about a petition in isolation. Now, once they have the petition that reaches potentially up to 100,000 signatures, and they're starting to see that that's translating to people canceling, that's where they're going to start paying attention. But they're not just going to respond to just people being angry online just for the sake of being angry online.
And a petition in a vacuum can't work. It's got to be part of the overall plan. But the other important thing is actual physical delivery of that petition. When you have, so the WoW petition was, I think, almost 8 file boxes that I brought over and brought to the CEO, right? That physical weight of all those boxes. And I got so much hate for killing trees from the tree huggers. Oh boy, it's like, oh my God, you've murdered so many trees over a video game. But this actually matters.
Haven't got to yet, Grumps, but you're really asking for it, you'll get it.
Yeah, I just put it out there and now I'm gonna get it again.
Well,
it's kills the rainforest.
In Amazonia, yeah, for sure. I mean, it's El Gore gonna get you for it.
Well, so
sorry, I mean, to quickly add
go
to it, people kind of trying to diminish the subject, but I mean, from my end, and I signed the petition, I support it. I mean, for one simple reason, and been promoting it through my channel, because it's not about the precedent, it's about what kind of questions this incident raises up, and these questions are quite simple. For me, as a gamer in the first turn, and as a developer in the second. First of all, it's the policies of the refunds, which are not perfect at this point. And if someone buys a project which is not a product, which is not been a product, been advertised, it's a good opportunity to discuss what happens in this case. Now, the second one is the level of influence of the platform on the developer, because we want to talk about it. We want to have better quality. We want to discuss it. I mean, we want to have a situation where developers would be able, like Arrowhead, to go and with the support of the gamers to improve their condition and the contracts with publishers and the platforms. So this is why those cases are important. And we need to do that, because if gamers would not protect their customer rights, you will infinitely get worse quality. Because ideal world for the companies is to create as expensive as possible product with the lowest as possible quality for the lowest as possible price and sell it to everyone, and people not asking questions.
And
this
the question
is
of false
world for the companies.
The question of false advertising too. These were Sony approved trailers that went out with with uncensored outfits, and then consumers bought. I had so many people tell me they bought a PS5 just to play this game based off those marketing trailers, and then the outfits they got did not match what was in the trailers. I think that and this is also an important movement for just like with Helldivers, for consumer strength, that you can stand up to corporations, that you can make a change. And so the more wins we have there, the more they're going to start listening. And that's very important. Gamers need a voice now more than ever. And this is the best time to strike, because, the finances are horrible and they're really paying attention to the bottom line. And anything affects that affects that bottom line is going to get a lot of attention. So Helldivers, they really were fired up, man, and it's a total win. It's great to see. And again, the strategy was correct. It's like, hey, go after Sony, not the developer, because Arrowhead is making a fantastic game, and I think the CEO handled it very well in a difficult time. Obviously, I have different opinions about their community management team. But that's why I put the focus on, hey, don't cancel your Stellar Blade pre-order. Go after Sony PSN Plus subscriptions and make them feel it there, because we need to protect developers who are making the games that we want. They're making it. Look, Stellar Blade is not just a TNA game. It is a fantastic playing game.
Very good
the gameplay is
a
great.
good game. It's a very good game.
That
Nier Automata.
Yeah,
general. Yeah.
and it's so sad to see that these CEOs and even the CEO of Arrowhead had to sort of step in front of the bus for Sony and said, "Well, we kind of are to blame for this too, right?" And the creator of Stellar Blade's like, "Well, we this is the outfit I intended," and he kind of had this puzzle.
But it's also, sorry if I can, like it's also important to understand this exact point of vulnerability that happened in between the gamers, like, and what they promised to the shareholders and the whole situation. So just to put it like very simply, what happened is what's happening with this whole idea of the crossplay for the Sony, right? They want to put out their most successful titles to another platform, which they would pay 30% offset to the Steam, obviously, right? But for them, it becomes the farm vehicle for the conversion of accounts and creating of more moot accounts of people from other platform, PC. So the idea is basically purchasing for this 30% different potential conversions of the new PlayStation Network accounts. Now, what happens when people start to cancel PlayStation accounts? It means that their plan doesn't work in the eyes of the shareholders. It basically becomes a conversation where people who's been approving this decision, they're like, you told us that this plan will bring us more people with PlayStation accounts, and instead, people are canceling PlayStation accounts.
This is related to Hollywood and Netflix and everything else with
Yeah.
the subscription model. It's a very important point that Alexi's bringing up, especially in a time where you don't have a lot of money coming in or you have less money coming in. You want to show you got more growth. It's like we're trading dollars for more people. That's why at the business level, you're seeing this mass desire to import people into the PSN network from Helldivers. And that's why the PSN Plus numbers are so important. How many subscribers do you have? Because when they have less money on these earnings calls, they want to show growth, right?
Yep.
That's because that's valid. That's a valid business strategy. You trade money for growth. And
Moreover,
so
they have to because hardware sales are falling down drastically for everyone.
Yeah. Tell me about that too. Yeah.
Well, so let me ask you guys this real quick, and then we're gonna shift over to getting a few more super chats. But so in 10 years from now, 15 years from now, do you see any consoles outside of a Nintendo system? Like, do you see that we're gonna have consoles in 15 years outside of Nintendo? Because I don't feel like we will. I feel like everything's moved to PC. It's gonna be PC gaming and Nintendo. That's really all we're gonna have.
I don't know.
Especially with like Sony.
That.
Sony and Microsoft obviously operate. This is not their. That's not what they're built on. Their consoles. It's just a small piece of their giant companies. So, do you think we will have like the PlayStations and the Xboxes of the world in 15 years from now?
I think so. Now when it comes to Xbox, that's a question, right? Microsoft made it very clear, like with some of their when you're looking at some of their subscription services and stuff like that, and kind of the failure of this generation of Xbox, that I think Microsoft might be more geared towards, let's just say, fuck it. Let's release games and sell them everywhere, and maybe we'll drop the Xbox in the next generation. But I don't know if I see the same thing with PlayStation. I think they're pretty set in their ways with it, at least for a while.
Yeah, I mean, you can't deny the like PlayStation. Regardless
the PlayStation
of
5 is still tracking pretty far along the lines of PS4.
It is. It's going to it's hard to say if it'll cross 100 million units like the PS4 did, because the library of games doesn't look very attractive right now in terms of what we're looking forward to. But it has done well up to this point. But it's hard for me to see Microsoft and Xbox being around for sure. PlayStation's been successful every single console life cycle, every single one they've dominated. But it's in the future, it just seems like so much is moving over to the PC side.
I mean, like, it's interesting because like I wouldn't be betting, like on the super big conglomerate companies to be forever in this business, because like it's every time the same thing. Like when Panasonic 3DO been introduced to the market, everyone been like, it's a Panasonic. It wouldn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
Like in big companies, people are like, oh, Sierra Online, if anyone remembers.
I had a Panasonic 3DO
like
I had one.
Yeah, Sierra is here forever. It's like the dominating market company. And then there's just something happens, like, and those companies are out of business, and someone else shows up. And I really think that what we are having now in industry is real close to like Hollywood's overproduction crisis in 60s, like where all of the most of the big companies have to go and had to go, and new companies showed up and they started to rebuild it almost from the scratch. I think that current generation and current vision of the consoles will go in 5-10 years, like maybe less than that. But I think that the idea of a house amenity, which is not as complex as the computer, like for a lot of people, for children to play, not really going anywhere. I mean, like, but the problem of current console is that they became too predatory, and the problem is a combination of the chosen state. It's the same as mobile. Like they have one monopolized marketplace for all the software at the singular piece of hardware. I mean, like, and that gives people too much power. They start to disrespect their customer because they know that everything will go for them for whatever they do. I mean, like, there would be a console which is just a useful thing to play video games. I mean, like, and it would be more loyal to the customers and for people. I think it would be fine. I think that the issue is that companies cannot rewire themselves to start thinking outside of 15 years of financial anomaly where literally everything been allowed to them. And they need to, because those times are over. I mean, like, they need to adjust to the market. Like Ram says, be more frugal, be more listening to the customers, understand that they would make less money, but would be looking for the higher quality product. And they need to start thinking about, developers need to start thinking about how to have a full access to the product that they're developing without anyone telling them what to do about it, and about having the direct access to the client that they're working for, gamers. Because I think that this industry has been building a relationship in between developers and gamers, and everyone else are kind of just helping, isn't it? Right? Like, it's developers developing game for gamers who play games. So that should be the most important element of it.
Consoles have been coming non-consoles for a while. They're PCs.
People are saying, Rush, I'm Ukrainian, but yeah.
Go ahead, Grums.
Yeah, consoles have becoming more and more PC-like because, consoles used to have a lot of proprietary hardware, and it took a lot of investment for devs to learn the bells and whistles and how to exploit them. And now they're much more. I don't want to say generic because we're not there yet, but they're becoming more and more like PCs. I think we're looking at a future where the desire is to move away from the box that attaches to your television, right? And to have games that are powerful, that are graphically powerful, and that show off the capabilities on your big screen. And it fills a need that mobile does not. Mobile can't give you that big screen experience that people want, and people still want the big screen. That's why everyone's watching at home instead of movies in the theaters. But they're not going to watch it on their phone, right? They prefer to have this. So I think what everyone's trying to do is find out what's going to replace the box. And they tried streaming games for a long time, and there's all sorts of problems with that.
Yep.
No one's, Google obviously with Stadia failed with that. And
Amazon did the same thing with their with their I forget what theirs was called as well. I think they're still doing some stuff with that, but theirs kind of a failure too.
Yeah, it just doesn't work, and I don't see it working based on physics alone. But if someone were to, and there's no way, if TVs were actually get together and embed this stuff at a quality level, that would work. But they can't do that. I mean, their apps and things are inferior on their televisions.
I think what I see is the next generation is we're not going to have physical discs. Like, that's pretty much done. I think next generation, I think everybody's going to try to move away from it. And then I think the next goal is going to be, you're going to have a box probably smaller than what it is now. And it's just the goal will be to get it either through Bluetooth or Wi-Fi or whatever onto your screen, controller in your hand, no cords. I think that's the next step in console gaming. So.
And late last night, the most Nintendo thing ever, Nintendo at like fucking 2:30 in the morning announces that their new Nintendo Switch is like on Twitter, just randomly, hey, we're gonna announce a new Nintendo Switch sometime in the next physical year. And I think a lot of people think that means that we're getting a Nintendo Switch in 2025 of March. That means they're going to announce it by then. I don't know when we're going to get a Switch, but it's clear that they're making that announcement that
it's got to be Nintendo Switch too, obviously.
Yes, absolutely. If they don't, unless they better not call it the Switch U, or I will fucking just lose my mind. Don't call it the Switch U, Nintendo, please, for the love of all. Don't do that. But go ahead.
what kind of kills me, like, is that there's like Nintendo being like this perfect example in industry and across the industry and in between the industries, right, and entertainment, that if you grow and respect your core audience, like with the titles that they like, you're gonna be like super successful.
Yeah.
It's literally like every new console, like every Nintendo player playing like 5-6 games all over again in different versions and variations, right? It's like if you're a Nintendo fan, you're playing Mario, you're playing Donkey Kong, you're playing like Mario Karts, like you're playing like a couple of other games like a Super Metroid, whatever, right? And everyone are super happy. And then there's a bunch of these other companies who are like, no, we actually want to screw up our core audience because we want to expand to the new audiences, like, and everyone like, what are you doing? Like, well, those new audiences are not even paying a lot, like it's mostly people who just very active online, and they, in reality, like they're not buying the product, they're not really supporting this. And if you support your core audience and if you help to develop like people who initially supported you on that, like people with the same mindset, like they join the flock and they super like what they have.
And ironically, Nintendo doesn't censor game developers like Sony and Microsoft do. I mean, there was an art book, a Japanese RPG art book that released recently. I'm sorry, I don't have the name, but Sony made them remove two pages out of the Sony version of the book of artwork, and then Nintendo let them keep them. Nintendo lets mature game developers do that, and there is a myth out there that these companies believe that you have to censor and you have to tone and water everything down in order to reach a bigger audience, or this sort of audience that Alexi's referring to, the non-existent woke audience of, gonna like swarm to your games if you push woke politics, right? And Nintendo doesn't care. And Nintendo is as mass appeal as it gets as a brand, and it hasn't hurt their brand. It hasn't hurt their family-oriented titles or anything like that. This is, and you could say the same thing of Disney, that this is a strategic business mistake.
Yep.
To feel like you have to censor everything and water it down and push woke politics in order to succeed, when Nintendo shows the complete opposite.
Yeah, absolutely. And Nintendo, there's a blessing and a curse with Nintendo. As a fan, they do a lot of things great, and they do a lot of dumb, weird things, but they don't tend to respond to social pressure. And that is the best thing about them, is they live in their own little world, and they don't get caught up in a lot of social trends. And but they also make some really boneheaded decisions on the opposite side of things. But overall, they're as long as they, again, I see the chat was like Switch Series X or something like that.
The Switch Advanced.
Yeah, the Switch Advanced. We have 50 gifted memberships from Gremlin. 50!
Whoa!
50 gifted memberships. That's crazy. And again, we appreciate all of you guys being here. We have a huge audience here today. Thank you guys for being here. And I know, like, Alexi, you have a YouTube channel. So do you want to give everybody a quick mention about that really quick, and we can drop links to that?
I just recently opened it. Like it's it's basically also, sorry for the dog.
No, that's okay.
It's basically, like it's a couple of weeks, a couple of times a week clips, like, which are all about the common sense and basically about talking about all the key news from the point of view of knowledge of industry, like stuff like that happened and this happened because it works internally like that. And these people do those things, like in this kind of manner. And I just started it. There's a couple of videos over there. I do like daily shorts and stuff, like, so join it. It's fun. It's kind of right.
You work with Epic Games, and I was a late bloomer to Fortnite. I actually hated Fortnite forever, and then they added no build, and I fell in love with Fortnite. And but they had a big controversy about, I don't know how long ago, this with the movement issue of the update with Fortnite. I don't know if you remember this. They had the movement, and there was a big, huge controversy online for like 2 days, and they addressed it. They addressed it, and they fixed it, and it went away. And with Epic Games in general, like they've done a good job of maintaining that audience for the last several years now. Is that like a company? Is that like a
company?
Yeah, is the
it's-
company, do they actually, are they aware of their fan base? Is that something that
Yeah.
they actually do take pride in with
Yeah.
like listening to the feedback?
No, Epic in general is like, in my opinion, is one of the best places you can kind of find yourself currently in the industry still, and for one of the smartest companies definitely. Tim Sweeney is like hugely smart dude. And there are some people around him who are like super smart as well. I think that they're doing a couple of things which are precisely what everyone should think about. Like one of them is, if you really think about it, Fortnite don't even need game industry to exist. It's completely compartmentalized from everything, from awards and shows and media. Like no one
Yeah,
cares.
it's like an entertainment product now.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Fortnite is Fortnite. It's just Fortnite is a separate platform that will survive like industrial nuclear event. You know, like no one, like, and it's like separate, right? You know, like, and what they do, they build their own ecosystem around it. I mean, like, and when you build your own ecosystem, you need to be listening to your customer very closely. You know, like, and you need to have this direct access for your customer because it also protects you. Like, because when developer combines, you know, like with the gamers, right? I mean, like they can protect you in many instances against even like situations which otherwise would go legally bad for you.
Yeah.
Like, and because these are the people who are paying money. Like Epic, when I was working in Epic, I was working at the engine part of Unreal Engine in Europe, you know, like, and being communicating with like 400 or 500 studios, you know, like at the same time. It's always been a hands-on relationships, and Epic being from the software middleware companies, probably being a company who's been putting most efforts into helping your clients with other means, you know, like getting developers known by the publishers, connecting people together, connecting people and money, you know, and stuff. So I guess it's a big part of the culture.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I cannot tell obviously for most of the things, you know, like, because I left when the company I went into an Epic where I started to work when company was 500 people, and I joined partially because I'm a huge Gears of War fan, like first trilogy, you know, like it's just a big thing for me. I mean, like, and I'm still a big fan.
Gears is fantastic,
Yeah,
man.
Gears like are amazing, you know,
Yeah.
like, and like, you know, like it's I like to read Cliff Twitter and Facebook solely for the reason of fans coming up at him that he needs to return to the Gears of War, and he's been annoyed so much because of that. You know, it's just hilarious. You know, as a thing. I mean, like, he's a great guy. And I love the company when it became like about 4,000, 3,500 people probably, because I don't work well in a very big companies in general. I mean, like I need a bit more freedom of operation as a person. But I mean, like all of my impressions and memories and experience working as Epic is amazing. You know, like, and I think that a big part of them being successful and attending feedback as well is that technically they're doing Fortnite at their own technology, and all of the core team of this project is still there, so they can very quickly go in and fix almost anything, you know, like without too much bureaucracy around it. I think it's extremely important to have this level of control over your game.
That's a good point.
Because I think what happened partially with the controversy about the Hellblade 2 is a communication lag. Because, like, I think when this whole thing started, I can guarantee you that the Arrowhead people went to the Sony telling them that you need to solve it. And some people got terrified. And there's been this lag where people were deciding how to tell higher ups about this issue, and should we tell it at all, you know, like, and maybe it will pass away. And then they started to churn it internally, and it took them some time to react on that. And if you could do this thing faster, you could be much more successful, you know, like in this industry.
Absolutely. Well said. That's good perspective right there. Because yeah, it is true. Is they just handle it so much quicker when there's an issue, and it just goes away immediately. There's no lingering of the problem, and it's just like the Helldivers thing. I mean, look how quickly they were able to deal with it, and it's now the community's back being enthusiastic about the game. You just don't, when you like, it's almost like the Disney thing. Disney has just sat there and let people bitch about Star Wars for, you know, years now. And look at how Star Wars is. Look at the most recent trailer. Is it at 100,000 dislikes, Ryan?
Yeah,
On the Acolyte. Yeah, I mean, nobody cares about anything they're putting out. They've let this negativity just build and build and build, and I don't know how they can get it back. I really don't.
Well, you mean moviegoers?
Yeah.
We know the answer. I mean, like, well, they need to look inside and weaponize the autism, you know, like.
Yes. Absolutely.
Well, so many CEOs, they're just hamstrung.
Gary led the way on that, you know, like, so.
There has to be a purge. You have to, and these layoffs are. I know that studio heads are looking at it for a way to trim, not just trim the fat, but get rid of some of the activism, right? Which is really just distracting from profit making. And I think you're right. Listening to your customers is never a bad strategy, and the companies that are really fine tuned on that do extremely well. Like, I play guitar, right? And there's a company out there called Sweetwater, which destroyed Guitar Center and Sam Ash and all the retail chains. And what they do is they hyper focus on the data. They don't look at trends and say, well, what's going to be hot and we should buy products to stock that way. They actually look at the customer data and say, what are people buying now? And if you search their site for a product that they don't carry yet, they collect that data and they track it. And we have so much information in the games industry about what people are playing, and even down to what types of activities within games that they like to do, that they should be going there. They shouldn't be listening to Twitter. They should be going to their customer data and giving gamers what they want. And this is why Stellar Blade works. It gave customers what they want. This is why Helldivers work. It gave customers what they want. This is why Palworld works. It gave customers what they wanted out of a Pokemon game.
Manor Lords as well is a good fresh example.
Yes, Manor Lords.
It's such a simple yet complicated scenario, apparently, for a lot of these entertainment companies, things like that. All right,
can you imagine like this whole situation with the Manor Lord? I think that people don't talk about it enough, you know, like, and people should talk about this more. So you probably saw, you know, like the guy who made the Manor Lords, he basically wrote this big thing where he said that this game is not this if you think it is. Like, he basically went and said that I heard a lot of people think that Manor Lords is something like Total War Warhammer. It completely is not. This is not what you think. Don't buy it if you think that this is Warhammer Total War, because it's like a simulator for the medieval city. Some people think that my game is this. Don't buy it because it's not that. You know, like, and just
it'll disappoint you if you get like
it will
yourself that it's
you.
like this. Yeah,
and he went out with this whole thing. And his wish list just went, you know, like even more. I mean, like, now, answer me a question. Can you imagine like a one PR or marketing person in your classic understanding who would let something like this pass before the game release? You know, like, just would allow developer to write something like that. There is no way in the world like anyone would ever do. You know, like, and this is like a good example of like how developer can sincerely and honestly talk to the gamers. And what people need to understand that gamers are not idiots. It's not like gamers feel when people lie to them. Like, gamers understand, you know, gamers want to have a good, equal conversation with the developers. And if that happens, like, magic happens as well. I mean, like, if you start to try to talk down to them, you know, like if you break like the courtesy of a normal conversation, this just doesn't work. So
it's the same with anything, right? People want the truth, they want authenticity. And so that's why even if your game's not ready for release, we've seen this over and over and over again, these trying to get crunched to get it released and then end up cutting a bunch of stuff that you promised people. If you're just straight up and honest and say, hey, listen, we want to give you the best product, it's not going to be ready by the release date. We're going to have to delay it 6, 9 months, a year, whatever. There will be people that are upset for a second, right? And then that'll pass after a day. And when they actually get the product, they're going to be happy. Right, because they delivered and the developers were upfront and honest with them about what was going on. People will forgive you being late on something as long as you're honest about it. What they won't forgive is a game that's fucking broken at launch, which is what we see all too often now.
Way too often. I mean, it's a huge problem, and that is the most unforgivable thing, is lying to the people. Again, I don't know how a lot of, and again, it's just because these corporate people have their heads in the clouds, but I mean, if you just level with people, level with the fans, level with gamers, they will generally be very forgiving. Yes, they'll be loud. Yes, they'll be, they'll voice their concerns. But when the product is there and it's good, they will forgive all, no doubt about it. All right, so we're at our hour mark, but we got some super chats we're gonna read, so we're gonna read those, and I'm sure we'll have some questions there. So Ryan, take it away.
Crimer double O Diddy for 2. Still haven't found me yet. Gotta run.
Good old Crimer.
Thank you,
Double
Diddy.
O. And I know
Yeah.
we have a new Danky video out. I don't know if we'll get a chance to watch it here, but it will be
We'll probably do that one tomorrow. Yeah.
no, on main event. We'll do that on main
there you
event
go.
tomorrow. So yeah, and it looks like it's going after Beardo's super chat reading skills, which will probably be discussed tonight. So
Proficial John Morrow play the new Danky video. LOL, love it. See, there you go. Andrew CR, hail, question for drums, kind of off topic. Do you know what happened to StarCraft Nova? I was very hyped for that one back in the day.
You mean Ghost, StarCraft Ghost with Nova? That was a troubled development that got caught in a couple of traps. One was the original developer, outsourced developer, was not able to deliver, and the other one was we got a new developer. From a great developer that did Vampire the Masquerade, and they were doing a great job. But then it was development was taking too long, and you can get caught in a situation where consoles are about to switch generation. And when that happens, your game sales aren't very good because people are just waiting for the new console before they buy any new games. So it was a victim of that too. And the other thing was Blizzard was never happy with external devs because it didn't have the Blizzard flavor. And we always wanted our external teams to have that Blizzard flavor. And I think it was naive of us to think that it could have that. And I don't mean quality. Flavor and quality are different things, right? And I think it's naive to expect that you can get that flavor from someone that doesn't have your corporate culture, right? So unfortunately, it's a game that didn't come to light. And it's a game I loved. And I wish I played builds of that. It was a lot of fun. There were some swarming teams with scenes with Zerg that are overrunning your position. It could have been epic, man. I missed that.
Redneck78 becomes a channel member. Thank you. TGV Monster for 2. Hi, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday.
Yeah.
Stitch, member for 6 months, says, wow, what a panel this morning. Hail Grums, Alexi, and the 199. Thank you. Sophie for $2 says, hail Grums, Alexi, what are your zodiac signs?
oh boy, here we go with that.
Yeah, I'm Capricorn.
Taurus.
You guys will be in her next video she's gonna make. So she asked me what my sign was, and I was like, I don't know. That's for gay men and women. And then so she goes to her whole community and asks and gets everybody's sign, and I'm literally the only person that wouldn't answer it. So now everybody's answered their sign except for me.
I'll
And
give
so-
all the info. I'm an int J on the Myers-Briggs test. I'm a Taurus, int J, blood type B positive for the Japanese gamers. There you go.
Bro,
Hail Sophie.
freaking zodiac signs. Lod for a gifted membership. Thank you. David Smart for 5. Hail, guys. Hail the 199. I finally watched a decent movie, The Fall Guy, and Tom Brady roast was so funny. You need to watch it. The Tom Brady roast was great.
The Tom Brady roast was unbelievable. I cannot believe how many edgy jokes that they were able to get away with on Netflix. That was phenomenal. And Fall Guy was a really good movie. It was fun. It had every element you would want in it. It's not the best movie of all time, but it's just really good. It's got good feel. It's got good action, good chemistry, good acting. I enjoyed the hell out of it. So
it's escapism.
it really is.
It's a very unserious movie that
Yep.
is just meant to entertain you for 2 hours. So it's what it should be.
And that's exactly what it does. It gets the job done. Hopefully the word of mouth gets better for that. I don't know what the box office is doing. I know it underperformed opening weekend. Ryan, is it looking like it's going to do anything?
I don't think it's going to make any money.
That's sad. That's really sad.
I know it's a dumb movie, but I really like The Beekeeper, because exactly for what it is, you're like, all right, it's a Statham movie. I know exactly 100% what's gonna happen for the next like 100 minutes.
Yeah,
it never let you down. You're like exactly that.
It could have just been called Transporter 7, and you're like, okay. Darth Gavel 5. Remember the 6th of May, the PSN treason and plot. I know no reason why the PSN treason should ever be forgot. Thank you, Darth Gavel. Ryan is uncensored for 5. Thanks for all you do, Mark, and for enduring all the trash these psychos throw at you. We have your back. Also, from yesterday's stream, glad my profile picture made you laugh. Thank you. Thank you. Ryan is unconcerned. Tobias for 10. Roadhouse Games used to be Human Head, who made the 2006 Prey. They got destroyed by Bethesda for trying to make Prey 2, forced to break up and become Roundhouse. Now Microsoft is doing it again. Yeah, it's not ending well for them. John Melick Ryan, it's off topic. What are your favorite expanded universe book series or trilogy, or even one specific novel? It's tough to like narrow it down to one, but if you're asking me what I think you should read in the Star Wars expanded universe, I would say you can't go wrong with the original Thrawn trilogy, the X-Wing series, the 4 books on Rogue Squadron's a great place to start. The Darth Bane trilogy, if you like the prequels, Plagueis novel, stuff like that. There's some you can read. TGB Monster for 5. Bethesda has layoffs. Somewhere out there, Az is laughing menacingly while pumping iron. Yeah, somebody's going to blame Starfield for it.
Yeah.
And then they're going to blame Mark.
If only he hadn't tweeted about the start screen and he just emboldened Az.
There it is. Yeah. Elric of Melnibone for 9 months. Every time I hear Bethesda, I hear Az's rant about them.
Yes. Yes.
Tobias for 5. For Alexi, were you part of Epic when they made Unreal Tournament 2004? I'm still waiting for a new Unreal Tournament, not more Fortnite.
Yeah, later. I mean, like it's I'm like I joined exactly, like at a point about 2 years in before the Fortnite. I joined when do you remember Paragon? Like there's been the short period of time. There's been like when Epic Game-wise launched Infinity Blade Mobile Paragon, which was like a console MOBA. It was closed after that, and then Fortnite been released. And I was working in Europe, in Guildford, where I live for last 10 years, for Unreal Engine, for working with a bunch of developers, basically. I do agree, though. I'm not a big Fortnite fan. I'm too old for this game. I get humiliated by the 12 years old, like who are just killing me and building shit around me and shot me with a shotgun. I mean, I cannot do that.
That's the first time I
That's
played.
why Jeremy didn't like the building, because he was like,
I couldn't do it.
He had
dude.
no idea what he was doing. He's getting wrecked by 13-year-olds.
I joined in and like these 12-year-olds are building this shit, and I'm like, what the fuck is happening? I don't understand. But the no build more my speed, so I can handle no build, but not the building. Holy shit!
I was humiliated as much as someone built around me, trapping me, and then fell down and shot me. I'm like, all right, I'll just go. You made your point.
That is exactly what happened to me, and I was like, this is the dumbest game I've ever seen in my life. And then I saw someone playing the no build version. I'm like, what the fuck is this? It doesn't like Fortnite. And they're like, no, they took building out. And I'm like, oh, I can play that, and it worked. But yeah, build, no, don't get me anywhere near it.
Vault 95 Survivor on Rumble says, hell yeah, Chrissy Mayer getting shout outs on Beanie Boys show last night. Hail the fellowship. I think Chrissy got a shout out on
Lila Hart's on. Lila Hart
with
was
Lila. So Switzerland play for $1. Blizzard lost it at the moment where you could not spit even at NPCs, or you could not /spit even at NPCs in WoW. Go fuck them woke pieces of shit.
There was so much stuff that was taken out that just didn't matter. A lot of the emotes, a lot of the, it was ridiculous. Replacing paintings with bowls of fruit. Women were replaced with bowls of fruit. Yeah. None of this needed to happen. Who was it appeasing? It didn't do anything for the game. What revitalized WoW retail was WoW Classic. And just like I told the CEO of Blizzard when I met with him with the petition, I was like, if you do this, you're going to get more people back to retail. That's what matters.
CG Hero for $10. Grums, I really hope your petition succeeds, but I can't see Sony going back on censorship given their track record. Instead, we should focus on warning devs not to publish their games through Sony.
I think you have to send a message by canceling your PSN. I think you have to send a message that gamers have a loud voice if you want everybody else who's funding games to pay attention. So I think that even if you think Sony isn't going to change, if you create enough noise there, people are going to notice. People are going to notice that, hey, gamers have a loud voice and we should probably listen to them. And that's the bigger picture here. So don't think of it as just Sony.
And they're on ropes right now.
I didn't think anything was going to come of the Helldivers thing. I thought Sony, especially after they got delisted on Steam, I'm like, fuck, they don't care. They obviously did care. So
why wouldn't they change it? It's just 2 minutes.
Yeah.
These arguments.
Chris Bolts for 5. An undercurrent of Microsoft woes that Xbox Game Pass has not been profitable for them. Day one on Game Pass is a death knell for any game studio. Yeah, when they started doing everything like that, for this one subscription, you get access day one to all of these what would normally be $70 retail games. if you have a mass of subscriptions, I guess you can make that profitable, but it doesn't seem to have been that way for them.
I've been saying for years that is the wrong approach, and it's going to kill indie devs who try to get on Game Passes, because the lion's share of the traffic goes to the first party, the guy who has the platform, as well as their top games. It's just like streaming. Streaming has similar issues. This is not a good model for games, and it's actually chilling to innovation the more that you rely on it, and it's going to cause, as it's not profitable, it's going to cause more reliance on predatory monetization outside of the pass price itself. And this is why I was against the Blizzard Microsoft merger. I got a lot of hate for that. It was like, no, you just, Game Pass is great for games. And I was like, it's great for you because you're getting all these games. Yeah. It's horrible for game developers, and I think people are starting to realize that.
Yeah, it's like, again, like, how could you not be excited to be like, oh, look, I do the subscription service, I have access to thousands of games, like, right off the bat. But when it comes to sustainability of that as an actual, like, economic, something to do, it doesn't work.
It's not just kill sales, it's also kills the game's impression as well, because, like, when you got, like, 10 games being downloaded at the same time at the price of $1, you don't play any of them. Like, you're just looking at it and you're like, whatever, like, and people like just have a different attitude. I mean, like,
it is very true. When I was younger, I had money for one game. Get that game and you just dedicate all your time to it. But if you're sitting there with 10, 20, 30, 50 games, you just like, I'll play a little here, play a little there. No one actually puts the, yeah, that makes sense.
It's one of the things, like, if we still have time, like, about something you guys mentioned, like, about our favorite subject, like inclusivity and woke people in general. I think that the inclusivity narrative becomes quite irritating for a lot of studio founders at this point, because it's very simple to be a part of this game where financially everything is very good. Like, but you got to think about it from the perspective of people who run the studios, who are basically told to follow those guidelines. And effectively, in practical terms, it means that you need to lower down the threshold of hiring people. You need to have more interns. You need to have more junior specialists. And it means that your senior staff need to spend more time teaching those people how to develop in general.
Exactly.
And it would be possible, like, in a different circumstances, once again, when everything's flourishing, like, but now it's not an issue. Now everyone are fighting for their survival. And people who run the studios, they're like, it becoming obnoxious, like, we just cannot do that, like, if we'll close the doors. And I think that in months and maybe half a year max, we will see a lot of results, like, of the situation practically.
Yeah.
The Tactician Musician for 5. I saw a refreshing article about the Zelda movie where the director's quoted saying he will, quote, go to the ends of the earth to make fans happy. Wow, that is refreshing. That'd be awesome.
Hopefully it happens, but we'll see. Yeah. I did read it, and that's the right attitude. That's what people want to hear. They just want to hear that you're passionate about something and that you're willing to put as much into it as you can to make fans happy. That is the baseline of, like, that's all you have to do in the beginning to make people feel comfortable. So it's a good start.
Prometheus Creations for 10. Only thing that is rewarding and giving fans what they want is being passionate about what you make. You do that, you can make something great, and always take fan feedback. Absolutely. David Smart for 2. I saw a new Superman pick, and I think it looks awful. Yes, we will. I'm sure we'll cover that. You guys might talk about it tonight.
We'll talk about it tonight. You can go to my Twitter. I've got the version that it should have been. Somebody that took a fan like 2 seconds with a fucking iPhone to make it actually look like Superman.
Yeah, it's not like, if this was just a random assortment of pictures, this is one of them, it'd be whatever. But it's like, this is the first image of Superman, and a picture says 1,000 words, and it doesn't say what James Gunn has been telling people about it. So.
And the picture of him in the shoe store, like trying on shoes, that meme is fucking perfect. It's fucking perfect.
CJ for $5. Tales of the Empire officially ended my love of Star Wars. Animation was my last hope for the franchise. It was total bait. Yeah, I told everybody it looked like shit from the beginning. Singing Tiggs for 10. I work at a dealer detailing. My boss has been doing it for 50 years and is dog shit at his job, but kisses ass better than everybody, so people think he's great. This problem is everywhere. The 10% rule. Yeah, for sure. Liberty Prime, member for 12 months. Fuck Sony. Had all the consoles since the PS1. Won't support a company that censors, pushes DI, forces PSN accounts. No more Sony consoles for me. Ministry of Wrongthink for 10 grums. What do you think the odds are that Helldivers team was subjected to NDAs by Sony and would have had an effect on their ability to warn players about the PSN requirement?
It was 100%.
Yeah,
Like,
110%.
Yeah, like it's not a question. It's like 100%.
Can I get 200%?
Yeah,
No, that's what you need to understand every time where you expect the reaction from the people who are at the developer side, and they have this contract with the publishers and the platforms. They're facing the world of huge legal repercussions every time you expect them to go and say something which is not aligned based on some of the sensitivity information or representation of the other party, if they are in these relationships. So what I'm trying to say, I'm not justifying anyone. I mean, like, but you know, I mean, like, I think that some of the studios can be a little bit more courageous to go to their partners and say that, look, we need to attend that. We insist. I mean, like, but in many circumstances, some of the studios would be just scared and intimidated to death, you know, like that they would lose anything. Because if you're in a relationship where publisher pays you money and can stop this payment every time, they also control your ability. If you're the new studio, for example, if you're not too rich, they control your ability to counterpart them in the court. Because, like, they can easily create a situation you would not have money to oppose them. You know,
there is only one way for developers to have autonomy, and that is to make them so successful that they have FU money. When they have FU money, they and they need the balls too to wag the dog, right? That's what we did at Blizzard. We made a tremendous amount of money no matter who our owners were, and we drew a line and said, you're not getting any of your nut jobs into our organization. As long as you can. This is why I'm always like, give the money to the developer, hit the publisher when they do something you don't like, where it hurts in the wallet.
Yep. And this is why you need to know, and you need to be in a way as a developer to create this money for yourself. It's a like whale money, buy a whale, like fuck your money, right? You know, like where you will get your true independence over it. And in mind as well, I mean, like that publishers don't want developers to become rich and super successful, because that means that exact moment that happens, they will lose control over them.
Yeah, they're kept on such a tight leash, especially smaller studios that don't have other sources of like investor money or anything else. Literally, the milestone-based method of publishing, they pay you just enough to cover your expenses, and that's it. And they can cut off that funding the next month if they don't like something you did. It's really hand to mouth, and it's really brutal, and it gives publishers Loctite control over the developers.
Lessons are being taught. A lot of people. There's a lot of information being, exposed today for people that don't understand how the industry actually works, because it's not as simple as a lot of people think. It's a lot more complicated, and I think that's something we lose perspective on a lot. We got Alice and Blunderland for 20 says, nice to hear from you, Grums. Thank you so much for your hard work and unwavering determination to let people know about all this mess. I've signed the petition and canceled my PSN subscription. Screw phony Sony. There we go.
Awesome.
Thank you, Alice and Blunderland. Thank you so much for that. And thank you, Alice, always supporting us.
Let's see. Hercules for 5. My physical copy of Stellar Blade isn't censored. Maybe we need to stop buying digital games, and day one patch are also ruining games. Yeah, that's that ship feels like it's sailed.
Where you can
grab
physical. I'm grabbing Blu-rays where I can of all my favorite films, because I don't want them edited later, right? I don't want stuff replaced, which is what's going to happen with everything digital. So where you can, while you still can, grab physical.
Yeah, and then like the problem is doing what he's talking about. Stellar Blade, there was, I think, a little bit of a stutter problem maybe that ended up getting fixed in that day one patch. But the problem is, for most of these games, without a day one patch, sometimes they might be unplayable in certain ways because of just the way things are done right now, which makes it tough if you just get a physical copy and try not to update it.
The only thing that people validate when they press a disc now is, does the patcher work? That's the number one thing, because they know that they're going to get a day one patch. So, and they have to get to manufacturing early. So in many cases, you're just hoping the patcher is 100% bulletproof.
Prometheus Creation for 10. Consumers have the power, not the investors. Without our business, the bills, developer paychecks, etc., won't be paid, and result, bankruptcy. Thank you.
Yeah, kind of agree to that. I mean, like, and this is why I'm telling that developers need to be more in touch with the customer directly, because in many relationships, publisher would try to overtake this relationship and stand in the middle. I mean, like, not to let this happen, right? Because like, if developer feels very much empowered by the gamers and by the audience, they feel more confident to go and to oppose investors and tell them things as they are. Like stuff like, no, we cannot finish this game 6 months less than we told you.
Right.
You know, like stuff like that, right? You know, like, no, because we discussed it online here, screenshots, and the gamers support us.
Helldivers does a good job with that. The CEO is front and center interacting with customers. And I can tell you that the dev team feels one way, and it's at odds with the community team who's not in those offices, that they're remote. And that's why the community management role is so important, because in so many of these companies where the management does not interact directly with gamers, and they should, they're relying on these community teams to tell them what's happening, and that information is biased and filtered, and that's a real problem.
But those days, community managers are often some people from Reddit who sits somewhere.
That's what I heard. That they were Reddit mods from the Helldiver 1 community that were contracted out and hired on to do community management for Helldivers 2.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
And first rule: never hire a Reddit mod. Okay.
No, for real, don't do that.
You have made your first big mistake as a gaming executive.
Man, Reddit. I don't know anything about Reddit other than I get a lot of hate on Reddit, man. Holy shit. I get a lot of hate.
Not big fans of us there.
Not big fans at all. They are not big fans at all.
I used to work as a junior PR that effectively used to be a community manager role back in the day at Stalker. And Stalker 1 being moved in release like 6 or 7 times, and like fans like hated it, like just. But there's been standards, like you had to go online, and you always understood that you were talking to people who are buying a game. You are here on the job, and your job is to make people happy, to talk to them politely, mitigate conflicts, and to make sure that people are still interested into the game. Occasionally create an opportunity for the gaming community to talk to developers and the leadership of the company. This is your job. Like, just do that. Leave everything else at home. All of your bullshit, all of your idealistic beliefs, and all that stuff. Because otherwise it just feels like communists infiltrated Hollywood again, like when it's a game development industry now.
Like the only silver lining when it comes to these Redditors is eventually they'll just like die out. It's not like they're gonna reproduce. They're all gay and trans and shit. So eventually they'll just go away. That's the hope.
No, it's really, like you're just, I like to imagine situations like just playing the small scenarios in my head, and I'm just imagining this kind of like a guy finishes his job. He's maybe a contractor, spent like 8 days, like building shit and stuff, and maybe had a couple of mild conflicts, and he's like going home, just stops at the gas station, buying like a couple of beers, tells his family when he's home after a dinner that he's gonna take this a couple of hours. He's been waiting to dive and play with his boys, and all that shit. And all of a sudden, like the situation like with Sony happens, and he goes online to check what the fuck, right? And then there is like this 25 years old person who's basically answering the question about what's wrong with the Helldivers. Like, do you want to talk with me about the Karl Marx and Richard fucking Engels and shit? And you are like, I don't. This is not a purpose of me being here now. I just want to understand what happened to the game. I had a hard fucking day, right? And these people are like, no. Hold on your trails. Let's talk about something completely irrelevant to you, about some virtues and values and stuff. And you're like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to.
Yep. Absolutely.
Demogeni, what's up, Demogeni for 2? Stellar Blade's an M-rated game. Who is this censored for? Not the customers, that's for sure.
Yeah.
You look at all the other M-rated games, and you can have butt sex with a bear, Do you not have butts? I love that meme that's going around. It's like- but you can't. You have to have the Sony approved triangle of black fabric in your cleavage. I think they should sell that on the merch store with the PlayStation logo, so women can insert that into their top. You know,
When they stream it, it's Sony approved. Yeah.
Sony approved cleavage.
Essen for $10. Going after the platform subscription is the better move. We saw breaking Microsoft news. The large corporates will shutter the devs and farm the IP to someone else.
It
Dick
doesn't really work.
Yeah, Dick Shooter for $20. D Gay Cobra sucks. Dr. Kennel is all right. I never played Helldivers, only Mech Warriors. Grow up. Thank you, Dick Shooter.
That's a number of statements. I'll put it this way.
Take a whole show to parse that.
Prometheus Creations for 10. Technology is advancing faster than consoles being made. There will always be obsolete to PC. I foresee it only being PC, mobile gaming, which is phone and handhelds, and VR. I don't want to do VR. I'm just not interested.
Yeah. Who does actually? I mean, like, really, to think about it.
It just
I do want to play Half-Life
gotten...
Alex. I want to play Half-Life Alex though. That's what I do want to play.
Yeah, that's it. It's let's all agree on the fact that from all of the media coverage, all of us heard that this is this one game you have to play. Right. You know, like,
it's it. Yeah, but outside of that, it's not something I'm not going to invest a ton of time. But that's mainly because I love the Half-Life games and I love the Half-Life universe. So it's like I want to experience that. And Mark the Cyborg has talked about Half-Life Alex and how great it is. But outside of that, I don't want to play like VR games. Remember that time we did the meetup at the bar, Ryan?
Yeah.
They put the fucking VR headset on me and you had to walk the plank and it freaked me the fuck out. I was like, I wouldn't do it. I was like walking all slow and y'all have video of it. It was really embarrassing. But VR
it's pretty sad that it freaked you out that much.
It just fucks in my head, man.
You're too old for VR. I am Warwolf for 5. Why can't Steam create a full-size Steam as console that is solely for gaming? They would destroy the console market.
They tried. I mean,
they
like
tried.
They didn't, like it didn't lift so really.
Mm-hmm. I know a lot of people love it, but it just didn't get too widespread enough.
Yeah.
Let's see. Dick Shooter for 5. Your PC is already too old. Talk about subscription. You got a new graphics card every generation. I'm a big dummy who got tricked. Thank you, Dick Shooter.
I heard like this thing about Steam though and Steam boxes that the problem that Valve has is that when they go to people who produce semiconductors and they say something like, we have the new product, like Steam box, whatever, like we need to produce like 2 million of those because of shortage of semiconductors, like they cannot get a priority client in front of Lenovo and Microsoft and Sony and somewhere else, right? So it's like a market thing, like because of the shortage of electronics. Unfortunately, I think
they're kind of like last in line for that.
Yeah,
kind of have these pre-established relationships. Yeah.
We're gonna get a couple more, and then I'll catch up the rest of them on main event tonight. So I'll catch up on yesterday's and today's on main event. So if there's any directed that either one of these two guys, Ryan, we can get those real quick.
Yeah, let me see if I can find that.
And again, I really appreciate both Alexi and Grums coming on. So while Ryan's kind of gathering that, Alexi, let them know where they can find you and what you got going on. And again, we appreciate it. Maj will be dropping links to your YouTube channel and your Twitter account in the chat. So again, tell them where they can find you and tell them what you got going on.
Yep. I don't know. I mean, like I'm like pretty much everywhere, but I recently got myself onto Twitter, which I didn't use before. Because
you're gonna regret it. You'll regret it at some point.
No, dude, I mean, like,
it is fun. It's a shit
Twitter
show, but it's fun.
Being a Facebook person, like you join Twitter, and it's like a proverbial analogy of just joining the bar fucking fight. Like you just enter there, it's just chair flying by, someone
Twitter is PvP,
everywhere,
man.
like never stops, and you're like, I like this place,
Yeah, it's true. Facebook is like PvE. Twitter's PvP.
Yes,
that does kind of feel
very
like
accurate.
Yeah.
Because every day with Twitter, it's that meme of the hazmat suit, zipping up, like getting ready to go into the comment section. That's Twitter. Just get ready because it's a war zone, but it's pretty fantastic.
Yeah, but it's fun. It's fun.
I want ranked Twitter play.
I'm like, I've been like banned on a Facebook like 5 or 6 times for like saying shit, and I'm just entering Twitter and I'm like literally the couple of first days I did that, I'm just seeing Elon Musk being like calling someone a retard. You know, I'm like, whoa, like this is interesting. You know, like we have something here. So,
I'm just waiting for Elon to drop the F slur. Like when that happens, we know like we are officially back.
Yeah,
He's close.
Like people immediately go into the mode of like, here we go, we're so back. You know, like let's go. Like so this is awesome.
The audience is ready for this kick. Ryan and Jeremy just have Grums and Alexi just tell stories.
I'm ready. I think the only one we have really directed, we've kind of answered already, but I'll still read it. For $5 from Maximus Grums, now that we've seen Sony will reverse their decision, do you feel there's still hope for Stellar Blade to be changed back?
Yeah, that's the thing that people have to remember is that there's a foot in the door now. And now it's up to Stellar Blade fans. There's obviously a lot of excitement when the game launches, and it's a single-player game, so that's going to fade off rapidly until Shift Up says something again. And they've been very, very quiet for unknown reasons. And that's very unusual when they should be out there pumping the game. So maybe something's in the works. We just don't know. But we're going to get the physical petition printed up and sent to their offices. I can guarantee you that makes an impression, especially with Asian cultures, when something physical arrives at the door that weighs that much. So yeah, and the other thing is, don't forget the other steps of the 8-step plan. You got to write in your letters, and you definitely have to cancel those PSN Plus subscriptions. And if their earnings call is coming up in the 15th, now is the time to do it.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's a very good point. And yeah, I want to say today was actually like I thought we had a really good show. It's a different flow than we normally have because usually it's memes and laughing and super chat reading. But today,
luckily we have two people who actually know what the fuck they're talking about.
That is true.
So,
that's true. And this was a really good show. And I'm already seeing the comments. People really enjoyed that. So
we're quite intellectual now. Time to bring up the peacup and extend your pinkies.
That's right. That's right.
It was good. It was good. And obviously we've had Grums on many times, and he recommended that we bring Alexi on. And I'm glad that you were, thank you for that, Grums. And this was really good. So Grums, where can they find you? Where can the people see all of the hate mob coming after you?
Oh, if you want a show, and if you want to see me do ranked PvP, come to Twitter and follow me at Grums. Please do that. And also, if you'd like to subscribe to me, I appreciate that too. That goes right to gaming. So yeah, join me at Grums. And I'm trying to be an amplifier. Look, my role is to amplify the gamer's voice, and it's to also I'm not a YouTuber. So what I try to do is I'll consolidate information and put it out there so that YouTubers can see what's going on at a glance and get their videos out faster. I see that as my role. So come help me be a megaphone, because you will be part of the Grums megaphone system, and together we can change gaming.
Hell yeah, that's awesome. That is awesome. And 2 epic streams in a row, amazing. Yeah, completely different streams, but awesome in their own right, for sure. And if you're looking for more, I don't know what the hell to expect tonight on Tuesday night's main event. I really have no idea what to expect. It will be a wild one. But yeah, no, both of you guys are obviously welcome back on anytime. Anything we can do at Geeks and Gamers. Obviously, we would maybe you guys enjoyed one of our Mario Kart streams. I don't know if you saw. Fuck. That was a shit show. A lot of cussing, a lot of yelling, and it was a lot of fun. Ryan won't come back to him. We can't even get Ryan to come back to him.
You got to put a fucking muzzle on Mike. Like, I literally tried to tune in. I actually turned on the stream for like 45 seconds. It was just Mike screaming. I just fucking turned it off.
That's all it was.
So annoying.
It was
like, the thing is, he's screaming while he's in fucking like 9th place. He's dog shit at the game. Like, why are you so fucking worked up when you're back there with Krista? Like, shut the fuck up.
Chris is actually really good at the game now. It was more back there with Ben and Steph. Where's Steph at? I had to take a shot at Steph. But,
I really love the chat as well. Like reading the chat, and I'm here for the first time. Like it would be constructive conversation with a occasional abrupt case happening. Like on the chat, someone going for a couple looks, stop paying taxes or something, and you're like, hey, what was that?
Yeah.
Our chat is the MVP, man. They take over.
Chat, you're the best.
They are the best. They are the best. Okay, guys. So Tuesday night's main event tonight should be a really good episode tonight. I will catch up on those few super chats that we didn't get to. Thank you again to Grums, Alexi, and to the entire chat for being awesome. Make sure you go follow both of these guys on social media. Subscribe to Alexi's YouTube channel. channel, which we've been dropping links in the chat. And we'll see you guys again next time. Have a great day. We'll see you for Tuesday night's main event.